This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Globalspeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of Globalspeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Kyle, welcome to Tag Radio.
Thanks, Frank. Glad to be here.
Wow, an exciting and dynamic challenge. Something big is happening. The buzz is on. Everybody's talking about the summit. But more and more, you're hearing about these breakout sessions. But let's get into a little bit about your background, just real quick. Tell us a little bit about eHire and what you're into.
Well, thanks. So eHire is a specialized professional services and technology staffing and recruiting organization. I lead the organization. We've been in Atlanta for quite a long time, and I've been involved in the community in Atlanta for many years. And I've been in staffing and recruiting and services for, I guess, about 20 years now.
Well, you haven't seen too much change, right?
Just a little bit.
Well, one of the things I know that you've got truly a great reputation, and something that I think is so solid and so strong, not only about your success, but the success of so many others that are kind of in a group of players that are the young leaders or the young Turks, and I certainly don't want to exaggerate to a point, but I think, Kyle, a lot of us see you as not only this generation, but the next generation leadership. But one of the things you always talk about is servant leadership. So maybe define a little bit about that and tell our audience about servant leadership.
That's great. Number one, I that's how I was taught to manage and help people, and I always view my position in the world as serving myself through serving others, and that's kind of at the essence of what servant leadership is, in my opinion. You know, helping others grow, helping others reach their maximum potential, and being an enabler versus being a taker. And that's just a philosophy that I've adopted, that I believe in. It comes ultimately from my religion. I'm a Christian, and that's the lessons that are taught from that religious point of view. And that's just something that I've adopted. And I found that, when you work a reverse pyramid, in other words, the leaders that are at the bottom of the pyramid supporting, the groups and people in front, then you tend to get great results and very happy people and happy customers, and that makes life pretty fun.
You know what? It really makes, I think anybody that knows you knows how successful and dynamic you've been, but I think, we also understand grace, and really important that I think our audience knows the character of the individual that we're talking to and the great work that you've done. That said, let's talk about some of that work. I'm kind of intrigued because I know sometimes when you get tapped for voluntary service, you don't say no, or at least sometimes I don't feel like I can say no. Let's talk a little bit about how in the world did you get involved, or what was your interest in getting involved in the summit in the first place?
Well, number one, I'm a board member of TAG, and so it's as part of your responsibilities. You get asked to do stuff, and participate, particularly in some of these major events. And from my perspective, the summit's a great opportunity to demonstrate, how amazing the Technology Association of Georgia is, and how amazing our community is from a business and technology stakeholder perspective. Atlanta's and the state of Georgia is an extremely innovative state. It's one of the best states in the country to do business in, specifically, in the state of technology. And the summit is really just a great opportunity to put that on display. And there's no better place for me to be than right in the middle of all of that. Number one, I'm extremely passionate and interested about it, and love my community. And two, it's a great opportunity for us to let the world know, just how amazing this community really is. So
I think therein lies the challenge, and I think in the last, say, decade, and it's so easy to drop a number down, but a decade, literally in the last 10 years, I think there's been so much maturity, such rapid dynamics and successes in every one of a number of segments, health IT and fintech. I mean, literally a couple of years, 10 years for sure, those didn't even have terms. Fintech or health IT might have been a buzzword among real insiders, but the average person probably didn't know the depth and breadth of those industries. Where I'm going is, how do you select what speakers, and then talk a little bit about the speakers you selected. I mean, what areas did you highlight and decide that we needed more information or more collaboration, and then what was the result of that as far as the actual speakers that you ended up picking?
Well, TAG had some broad areas, and obviously, technology spans just about everything from ag tech, to healthcare, to manufacturing, you name it. And we try to come up with a high-level set of groupings that would allow us to bring in speakers in those areas and technologies that are advancing those areas. So one of which is Buy, which is really a fintech track, if you want to call it that, about how people are buying and companies are paying for services, right, and how that's changing, which is changing really rapidly. Obviously, you've got Move, which is really about logistics and about the movement of people throughout our ecosystem, whether that's supplies or B2B logistics or people movement, which is a cool track. And we've got some really interesting stuff there that I'll mention in a second. We've got the Live track, which is about the consumer experience every single day, and from the fan experience to the purchase experience. Those are very interesting, and they personally affect us, and that's been a huge innovation in technology. Is just the experience level that we have every day, whether it's going to the grocery store or going to a Falcons game. We've got the Nurture track, which is broadly around human nurturing, whether that's ag tech or healthcare. We've got 4 really good speakers in that. We do have a great ag tech, AI and ag tech segment that's going to be pretty amazing. And then we have the Protect track, which is obviously top of mind, and that brings together cybersecurity. Most people think that, but really Protect is much bigger than that. So we've got a civilian protection track that Price Waterhouse is going to help lead around civilian protection. So we're talking about Internet of Things, looking at the streets, looking at our schools, and being able to help us protect those sacred places that we all live and work and play in, all the way through to the future threatscape of cyber, and talking to Patrick Gall from the NTSC around the future cyber threatscape and how people are managing that at scale. And that's hard to do. We've also got the future of biometrics. So I'm really excited about the Protect track. You can hear that in my voice. And then we have a kind of a broader segment around work. And we've got a diversity panel around inclusion and diversity that I'm really excited about. I think we are in a unique city, obviously being the center of the civil rights movement and carrying that forward. And we've got a lot of work to do to be more inclusive, specifically around technology, around women and minorities. And one of the great things about that track is that we're going to ideally teach people how to do it, which I think is a big challenge, right, for most businesses. We've got Miriam McLemore, who's going to talk about Amazon's culture of innovation. She is one of their executive directors, and she's going to be leading a workshop there, which is really, really exciting. And then we've got a couple tracks on the future of predictive analytics and data science. So we've got tracks that span those key areas within those areas, and we're pretty excited. So we had a big bucket, and then we've broken it down into smaller buckets.
Okay, so I'm going to divide it up into 2 demographics. One, I often say that a millennium isn't necessarily an age demographic; it's an attitude. So I'm going to say in a millennium attitude, digital marketing and global marketing and that kind of thing. And then on the other side, maybe the great generation, the baby boomers, and a little bit older demographic, and maybe an established executive, but looking at some transition because of all the change. Let's go bounce millennium. And let's just say old school. I don't know if I really want to define it as traditional. And where I'm going is, tell us a little bit, if I'm a millennium, why would I want to come? And how do I go through that list of speakers and breakout sessions? Do I go to the ones I know about, or do I go to the ones I don't? And maybe do the same thing for the more traditional audience.
So let me tell you, when we talk to our speakers, and we've been working through this, I want to tell you how we set it up, right? So the 2 things that we ask, and the intent of these breakout sessions is for the audience, which is by the way a very diverse audience. It's going to be full of millennials and traditional folks, if you want to call it that, Generation Xers like myself. So it's going to be a very diverse audience full of C-level stakeholders all the way down into vendor-level salespeople. So it's going to be a very diverse audience. So the intent is, number 1, to provide thought leadership around a specific topic, and I want people to come away learning something that they didn't know before about a specific topic area, whether that's blockchain or AI, machine learning, you name it. And then the second piece is we want people to come away with an actionable item. So, for example, if you were in blockchain and you learn one of the breakouts in blockchain and you learn a little bit about how and used right now outside of maybe crypto, you might be able to take that back to your current business. So we want people to learn something, and we want people to take away something that they can look at their business and apply some of the stuff that they've learned to help, right? And that's what we really want to do. We want to fuel innovation. So to answer your question, how do they decide? Well, it's really what I would recommend is, and it's a deep list. It's 24 breakout sessions. Like I said, I've got Stephen Pear and Andrew Morris of Money 2020. Stephen Pear is the CEO of BitPay, talking about the future of cryptocurrency. It doesn't get much hotter in terms of the press and the noise there.
Yep.
That's a very interesting, very disruptive area. We've got Jesse Coleman, who's the CEO of Airbus Aerial, that's going to be talking about his drone business and the future of aerial data and how dynamic organizations are leveraging that to get a substantial competitive advantage and solve big problems. We've got the folks from Humana and Splunk are putting on a really interesting keynote about solving big healthcare problems with big data, and some of the use cases they've talked about are unreal around how we're changing how we treat people and how the clinical world has improved so greatly with technology. Just the patient outcomes are really moving forward quick. So, there's a little something in here for everybody. How do you pick? I would recommend somebody pick something that they either had a light level of interest in or something that intrigues them, and they're going to get an opportunity to go to 2 breakouts. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see 6 or 7 breakouts. We just don't have the time in the conference for that. But go where your curiosity leads you, and I think you're going to turn the day into something special.
I think that's certainly one of the challenges, and I think one of the new dynamic leadership aspects of the next and new generation of quote-unquote tag and the new leadership we all know, I think is a real opportunity to leave. I like when you guys always talk about taking away something that you can act on, actionables. You know as well as I do, Kyle, so many places to go to, so many things that you've got to handle, so many meetings, and even with all the change, so many things you have to keep up to. The average person literally can't keep up with it all and certainly can't go to all of the events. Let's talk a little bit about the thought that went into making this event, as you talk about, something that in a way is definitely, we talk a lot of hyperbole. We'll say this one's the event of the year, don't miss it, and that kind of thing. But what's the real bottom line importance? A lot of work and energy has gone into it. Tell us a little bit of why it's so important, and then go back over that part about actionables and deliverables, and really I think the value proposition. Is it worth my time and money? Because I think down at the end of it all, as exciting or maybe as committed as we are to tag, show me the money. Is it really worth the investment? So go ahead and talk a little bit about that, if you will.
Yeah, so I think if you're considering attending the event and you're debating whether or not it's a good spend of your time, consider the fact that that a very large, substantial part of our key technology and business leaders and stakeholders are going to be in attendance for the Georgia market, for Atlanta. And so if you want to be around those people and you want to network with those people, this is probably one of the premier opportunities that you'll have to be in close proximity with some of the smartest, brightest, innovative people in this marketplace. And quite frankly, we're flying some folks in from all over the country as well. So it's going to be an aggregation of brilliant people, which is
really one of a kind. Truly exciting.
In that regard, I think it's unique. I also believe that the leadership of TAG has created this as kind of our future kickoff. I know that we're having every year we're moving the Leadership Council, which is one of my responsibilities at TAG, which is running all of the societies. We have 26 societies dispersed in multiple technology and functional areas. This is our annual kickoff, and we've changed that from 12/31 to the summit. So we're looking at this event as the kind of the beginning of 2018. Right, yep. Kind of our kickoff for 2018, and we're trying to build a platform here that's truly a summit. It brings people together to talk about the future technologies, not just sit there and learn about what crypto is or blockchain, but come together around things like workforce development. We have a huge breakout session on that at the end of the day on the 21st, where we are going to have a workshop with hundreds of people, right? Led by Ryan Esparza of Jackson Healthcare, and we are going to actually get takeaways about how we as a community can further the narrative and of workforce development in this community, and then present that back to an audience of like 1,500 people. So that's different. That's tangible. That's workshop. That's collaboration. I would say that's the major difference, is that this community is trying to come together to actually have a summit, not just another technology conference. This is going to be highly collaborative. There's going to be a very diverse set of people there. You're going to learn a lot about some of the most transformative areas in technology, and we're going to work on a big problem, right? Atlanta and this metro marketplace is a very, very, very attractive place for a lot of companies that are considering moving their companies here or their technology centers here. But what they all want to know is, what's the pipeline look like? What's the talent pipeline look like? Why should we come here? How long is this pipeline going to last? Is it limited? Is it deep? And our answer is, it's sustainably great. And the reason that it's sustainably great is because organizations like TAG, Metro Chamber, our university system, the Board of Regents, all are extremely focused, right, on workforce development. And this is going to be a tangible effort in that regard, and I think that's pretty exciting.
I think the Japanese term is tsunami, and they also talk about a bolt of lightning across a dark sky from a philosophical standpoint, meaning a chance in a lifetime. We hear a lot about the economy on fire. We hear a lot about job and employment situations, even challenges with not being able to find enough good employees, no less the jobs, and acquiring. The horizon is already telling us that there's more and more and more opportunities. I think some of the bigger opportunities that are prospects are even overshadowing the ones that we've already landed as far as new headquarters and expansion of industry. Marketplace is hot. I think what you're saying, I'm hearing anyway, and I hope a lot of our listeners are, is that this is a touch point, whether you're in it or you're not. If you want to get in it and get involved, this sounds like the place and the time to do it. If you're not in it, this is a great way to learn all about what's going on and see where your touch point is to get involved. Yep. You mentioned network, learning, and the environment sounds like the perfect storm. And Kyle, let's end with this because we're quickly running out of time, but give us some of the mechanics. Where, what, when, and how do I get more information, and really how do I sign up?
Sure. Well, you can go to tagsummit.com, and you can register online right there and buy a ticket or sponsor or buy a table if you're so inclined. But that's the easiest point to interact. It's on the 20th and the 21st of March, so I guess that's in about a week and a half from today. The conference is going to go, I think it starts at 5:30 on the 20th, and we have Barry Simpson, the CIO of Coca-Cola, going to talk about their massive transformation that they're going through from a technical perspective. It's going to be pretty exciting. And we're doing the Georgia Top 40 that evening, so some of the most innovative growth companies in all of Georgia and Atlanta are going to be on display. Great opportunity to find out that market and get in there and get involved. And then on the 21st, we start off really early. I think we start off at 8 o'clock with with our keynote, and then we move into we have a futurist that's coming to talk. It's going to be really, really cool. If you're into imagining what the future's like, it's going to be amazing. And then we go into the breakouts, and then we have our working session and another keynote. So it's going to be an exciting day, a full day on the 21st.
I think what comes to mind when you said the word imagine. I mean, can you imagine the next few years, and can you imagine the insight and the networking and the opportunities that are going to be presented over those couple of days? Unbelievable. Kyle, to say thank you would be an understatement. There's so many people doing so many good things, but there are people that do more than almost anyone, and you wonder even what their motivation is, and that's when I go back to your servant philosophy. We know where your head's at. We know where your heart's at. Kyle, thank you so much for all the things you do, and really for taking time out of what I know is an incredibly busy schedule to take a few minutes to join us today on Tag Radio.
It's my pleasure, Frank, and thanks for the kind words. I hope I can live up to all those. Appreciate it.